ton of money, right, for a college kid. One of my roommates owned a landscaping company and then sold that for like $250,000. Unless you're highly creative and highly skilled in what you do, you're going to always be confined to the knowledge and information available to everyone else. So I was like, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to do this way better. And that was what a lot of these landscapers go, oh my gosh, never seen that before. That's amazing. Let's do it. If you make yourself unique, you're no longer competing with everyone else. And I think that the SaaS model is going to work much better for companies that are $2 to $10 to $20 million a year.
Okay, so welcome to the podcast. This is the first episode. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself. This is Hunter Larson.
Hey guys, so my name's Hunter Larson. I've been doing marketing now for about 6 years. And I just recently sold digital marketing agency. So that way I could come help people grow their agencies. So I was in the landscaping industry, helping landscapers grow their businesses, sold my business so I could help people grow their business, their agencies.
Right, so just a bit more on the business side, like your own journey. How did you get into business? Like, when did you decide, this is the path you want to go? The traditional route is not something you want to do.
Yeah. So both of my parents are entrepreneurs. They both own financial advising businesses. So like right from the very beginning of my life, I kind of realized like how entrepreneurship gives you the freedom to kind of do whatever you want and make a lot more money than like a normal job can. So for me, it was like, I think I remember distinctly like in sophomore year of high school, I read a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was like kind of the thing that like really confirmed all the beliefs that I had about like you need to be smart with your money and doing things that are kind of out of the ordinary to get what you want. But it wasn't really until I would say like really in college, I should say. I met one of my roommates owned a landscaping company and then sold that for like $250,000 and came to college with like a ton of money, right, for a college kid. And that was when I was like, okay, wow, like that's amazing. So I started going with him to entrepreneur events, like little startup things. And we created an app for college students to be able to find fun events in their area for like the new freshmen like we were, to actually be able to find something fun that was going on. And then we started doing like charging the little electric scooters that people drive around campus and stuff. We were charging like 40 of those a night in our little tiny like rooms, and then getting those back out at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And that was when I started seeing like the grind and how fun that was. And getting paid like $500 a night was was pretty nice, honestly. Like that money was kind of addicting. So I at that point I was like, wow, I can make a lot more money doing this on my own than I can if I so it was really after that I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do.
Right, so how long did it take from you doing the charging business, the app, stuff like that, till you thought SMMA would be like a better thing to get into?
Yeah. So in college, I started working for a real estate agent to help him get leads. And then also just like with his marketing, doing various things such as like SEO, so search engine optimization, Facebook marketing, Instagram, like all that stuff, all the content marketing. And I really enjoyed that. So I was like, wow, that's a lot of fun. But then I went to go work for my parents' company for 3 years. Because I kind of thought I was destined to take over their business and just be kind of the guy to take over and be the CEO of their company. So realized really quickly I did not like finance. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go do something else. And so I got a job as a sales guy for a digital marketing agency. Realized that the CEO didn't even have any clue if she was helping her clients make money. So I was like, that is just ridiculous. Like, we're supposed to be helping people grow their business and grow their income. And she had no idea if she was doing that for her clients because she didn't track it. So I was like, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to do this way better. And that was when I got into the marketing space on my own. So yeah, at that point, it was like almost a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, this is where I belong.
Yeah, so the way you got into it was probably different to a lot of the people now. It wasn't through like social media, seeing people like, obviously Iman Gadzhi is massive now.
Yeah.
He's got like 200,000 people in his course,
Yep.
which is it's a 997 course, but that's still a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah. So how did you find Charlie then?
Yeah, bro. So that's a good question because I distinctly remember seeing a video because I was growing my agency with cold calling only, and I was like not doing very well at that. So I needed some help with that. So I looked up on YouTube some cold calling tips, and I saw this like British dude sitting in a beanbag chair. Um, so I was like, who is this guy? Didn't really take his advice seriously. But then I started seeing him popping up kind of like all over my YouTube channel or YouTube like algorithms, right? So I um, just started watching his content a little bit more. And then it wasn't until I saw him with Thomas Gonay sharing like a whole bunch of documents for free. Like he was like, this is how we onboard. This is exactly what we do. Just take these documents and run with them. And I was like, oh my goodness, like these are complicated. I don't know how else this stuff works. And that was when I realized like I didn't know as much as I thought I did about running a digital marketing agency. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll at least like talk to somebody from the company, see if this is the right thing for me. Yeah. And then I got on the call, I ended up just signing right there. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Slightly off topic, on the topic of Thomas Gonay. So what do you
Yeah.
think about the whole SaaS model, the whole SaaS business
Yeah.
compared to, traditional SMMA?
Yeah. So I really do think that that's a very specific type of client who wants that too, right? So I do think that there's a market for that. I mean, it's it's that's more though for the type of business owner who um is kind of already removed from the daily operations of their business and want to give themselves something to do, right? But don't want to have to learn everything themselves. So I think the done for you SMMA model is really good for smaller SMB type businesses. So people who are making like less than $1 million to $2 million a year. And then I think that the SaaS model is going to work much better for companies that are 2 to 10 to $20 million a year. Just because that at that point they can hire somebody to actually do this for them in-house with the guidance of a company who does this professionally.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I do think that in terms of like the agency owner side of things though, on your point, Conrad, like I think that as an agency owner, starting out with a done for you is a great way to get your foot in the door, build up that expertise. Then once you really have a lot of expertise, then transitioning to a SaaS model will allow you to scale beyond the 100K, 200K per month mark.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people realize like after getting their first 3, 4, 5, 6 clients that when they're doing it all for the client, that's a lot of work, right? And I don't think people don't realize that when they come into it. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get 15 clients tomorrow. It's like, okay. I mean, if you can do that, great.
Yeah, well done.
With SaaS, it's very possible. Right? You can sign 80 people in one day and you can handle that because it's just a software that you use to train people on how to do it themselves and have the software do a lot of it for the client rather than a person, right? And softwares don't get tired. So, yeah, I think in the long term, you'll start to see that more popping up.
So slightly back to the questions now. What would you say to someone who they're looking at SMMA, they want to get started, but they think it's an oversaturated business model? They see it everywhere on social media, so they think everyone's doing it. There's no point.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to where I was before I joined the course. Like, I was consuming a lot of free content that was available to everybody, right? And that's why people that never are able to invest or don't want to invest in paid knowledge stay right where they are normally, right? Is because if you have access to the same information that 8 billion other people on the earth have access to, there's nothing differentiating you from those people. Unless you're highly creative and highly skilled in what you do, you're going to always be confined to the knowledge and information available to everyone else. So that's where I feel that, I feel like that's the most important thing is like investing and being able to remove yourself from the saturation, because like Charlie says, it's not the markets that get saturated, it's the offers that saturate.
Yeah.
And so if you make yourself unique, you're no longer competing with everyone else. You are your own thing, just like Amazon and Apple are, right? They're very unique companies, and that's why they're the biggest in the industries.
It's like on the lead up to this call, I watched a few podcasts, and I don't know if you know Matt Shields, big SMMA guy. He had an
Yep.
interview with Eric Cavallars, the real estate guy,
Yep.
also on Easy Grow. And he says winners will always win. There's always room at the top. So all these other people you say getting involved, 99% of them, they still won't win. They're not that kind of person. They're looking for an easy way out, especially now, so many people, they get into these things. They think it's just going to be easy. It's like a life hack. That's how I got into it. A rude awakening. It's a lot harder than you think. Like you actually need to work hard. Yeah.
Yep.
So moving slightly more into the landscaping specific questions, what kind of service did you offer to landscapers when you were doing your business? Why did you think it gave them such a big advantage over the other people in their industry?
Yeah. So one thing that I noticed with landscapers is that they do a lot of high-end jobs, right? And that's their kind of ideal client. And one thing that I noticed with Facebook was that you can target specific areas, very specific neighborhoods. And so what I was doing is having my clients hand out flyers to neighborhoods, and then I would run ads specifically in that really wealthy neighborhood to get them clients in specific neighborhoods, right? And that was what a lot of these landscapers go, oh my gosh, never seen that before. That's amazing. Let's do it, right? And so that was when it was really almost like I felt like everybody I got onto a call with was like a lay down sale, because that was what set me apart. It was like, I can get you clients all over the city, but if you want specific people in different neighborhoods, I can help you with that as well.
Yeah. So would you, on the call, the sales call itself, mention your service, how it works, or did you focus more on the result and then later when they were onboarding, mention that you did these things?
Yeah. So I would explain the service as like like here's what we do, and the benefit to you, right, is now your clients start to become more high ticket. I help you get clients in the wealthy neighborhoods, because with landscaping, right, the result of being a landscaper in a wealthy neighborhood is all of the other rich friends see someone else's yard and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, XYZ Landscaping did that. Now I should give them a call. And so if I can help my clients get into neighborhoods, that can help them stay there. So it would be a holistic approach of like, this is how we do it, and this is the benefits to you.
Right. And why would you say doing a landscaping specific SMMA, so them working with someone like you, very niche, very focused on the specific industry, is better than just a general SMMA who maybe does similar things?
Yeah. So I actually like saw this firsthand when I worked for the marketing agency that I mentioned earlier. We were running some ads for a landscaping company, and we were based in Colorado, very cold climate during the winter times. But basically my point is we don't have palm trees here, and we were using palm trees in their ads.
Right.
Didn't make any sense, because it's like people here don't need their palm tree trimmed or cut down, right? So because we don't have palm trees. So my point is that when you work with somebody who's specific to the industry, they know the industry really well, and specifically the things that matter when it comes to client acquisition, helping you find the clients and acquire them, right? Because it's really hard to be an expert in landscaping, law, dentistry, eyes, concrete, like all of these different things, because it's like at that point there's just too much. Like there's too many different things going on in the person in that business, and you can't be an expert in any one thing.
Yeah, 100% true. Okay, so I'd say, what is the biggest difference you saw in people's businesses before you worked with them compared to after they've already got results, you've onboarded them, let's say they've been on for about 2 months?
I mean, the biggest difference was they could get picky, right? Like I thought before I started their business, I thought that like agency or landscapers were going to be able to just take everything that I gave them. But then as I like did it more and more, I realized that they were really picky people in terms of what jobs they actually wanted to do. But when I would call them, before I would talk to them, they couldn't be picky. So they just had to take them. Right. And so they'd end up like trimming grandma's tree in the back, and they'd be able to charge like $500 for it. Right. And so it was like, that is unproductive for a team of 5 people to come out there and do that. So that was the biggest difference, was they now have the ability to turn people down because they know, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be able to find another job that's probably a lot better than this, or maybe they even have them lined up already. And that was huge for most of my clients.
Yeah, I think that's like also a big thing. They struggle with time constraints. I don't know if you saw, like I was doing some research. A lot of them complain, you know, they don't have enough time to do their jobs because they're probably taking all of these tiny ones, not making the most money for them, but it's filling all of their time. And because they're doing all these tiny jobs, they also need to travel there, give a quote, travel back, manage everything. So a lot of them think, oh, I have a problem with time, but really it's with leads. They don't have enough leads, so they can't charge enough. And then if you could charge more, you can do less work, get paid the same. So you're doing less, you have more time.
Right? Yeah. Well, and it's because I noticed that a lot of landscapers, like they get into the business for 2 reasons. Number one, their family was in it and they've kind of grew up in it and that's what they know how to do really well, or they love it and they are really good at it and so they do it.
Right.
But then what happens is 8 times out of 10, they kind of neglect the other things that come along with that, right? The actual like marketing of the business and trying to really make things easy for them by having the right staff in place to help them with the back end stuff. Because a lot of them at least in my experience, a lot of my clients like didn't have a lot of time to just sit at a computer and do this administrative work, but then they ended up having to do it anyway. And so then that would cut into family time. And so my whole goal was to help them get really, really picky, take 6 jobs a month rather than having to do 10 to 12 jobs a month. And then having to, do 10 to 12 administrative tasks on the back end. Instead, now it's just 5 to 6. So they can, spend more time with their family when it counts, right? In the night times, having dinner, whatever it is.
This is a question that I actually have been wondering for a little while. So obviously I'm in the UK, right?
Yeah.
I've not lived there my whole life, but I can see it's not really an industry you'll get into by chance. Like it's not a cultural thing. It's not normal for people to do landscaping. It's a lot smaller industry. People don't have, like, I'm looking outside right now. We don't have a front yard. We don't have a big backyard. So there's not as much of a market. Do you think a lot of the people who get started in landscaping or lawn care, because it's really like interchangeable, just do it when they're like younger, something like mowing their neighbors' lawns, people in the area's lawns, and then it ends up escalating. They see success and they take that, run with it, and end up doing that as a career?
Yeah. 9 times out of 10. Yep. I think that's definitely true. I mean, that was my roommates in college. Like that was his experience. He just had a push mower. He was 12 years old. He wanted to make some money so he could afford the new iPhone because his family didn't have a lot of money. And he was like, I want to make money to buy my iPhone so I can be like the rest of my friends. And so he just started mowing lawns and then scaled it from there and then started doing holistic landscaping as well. And but I mean, it's not everybody, obviously. Like I'd say that's 9 out of 10. I did meet a few people who, were in a different profession for 30 years. And then in retirement, they decided they wanted to start a landscaping company, but it's just a lot less common.
Yeah, makes sense. So if you, right now, obviously you're not going to do this. You're working with Charlie, but if you're going to start a landscaping company yourself from scratch, how would you go about, getting your first customers all the way up to, if it's a massive company, how would you market it then to maximize your profits, maximize, how picky you could be and build your team?
Yeah. So if I was starting in completely brand new to landscaping and no one knew who I was, the first thing that I would do was combine my efforts on digital and offline. Right. Because the thing that I hear a lot of that, with landscaping, it's a physical service that they do for their clients physically transform yards, right? So you need to have an aspect of both, the physical aspect and the digital aspect. So I would do kind of how I did for my clients, because I saw it work really well. Handing out flyers, very inexpensive. You can just print out little sheets that say, hey, we saw that your yard needed some love or whatever, and then handing those out and then running just a small advertisement. You can literally do that for like $5 to $10 a day.
Yeah.
So if you're starting out and you don't have a lot of income, you can afford that. Like, it's worth it. You're going to get clients from that. And so the ROI can be massive for you. And then once you've scaled beyond these kind of initial stages and you start to have a crew, the first thing that I hear from landscaping guys is they can't find good labor, right? That's the biggest problem. So when scaling to bigger heights, one of my biggest clients, what he did was he was paying himself kind of not very good salary for a couple of years, so that way he could pay his guys really well and find top talent, and keep them for a long time, right? Because that was the biggest thing that drove people away, is they'd come in, they pay them like 15 to 20 bucks an hour, and they're like, this isn't worth it. This is too hard of work for me to come in and do that. So paying them a little bit more in these early stages, paying yourself less, will help you scale to the next level. And then from there, getting into a holistic digital approach, Google, Facebook, and then also posting content as well on your Instagram and Facebook, so people can see the kind of work that you're doing.
Right. It's starting to rain here, so let me just close my window.
Yeah, you're good.
But also, I've recently reread Alex Hormozi's $100 million Offers, because his new book's coming out, so hype to that. But I think it's also, if people are doing bigger jobs for their team, it's also a psychological fix, because he talks about logical and psychological fixes of problems. If you're in a big team and you're going around cutting down trees, like, it's not the most rewarding work. Like, you're not gonna feel as important cutting down a tree compared to doing a massive job over 2 months and seeing you're taking someone's backyard or front yard from looking just a plain grass thing, can't really do much with it, to this amazing looking platform where it's like, that just looks amazing. I feel like the family loves it. Just rewarding work.
Yeah.
Which is why I think, like, from a HR standpoint, like human resources, a lot of people complain that they just don't enjoy the job because it just doesn't feel rewarding.
Because I mean, a lot of landscapers, sorry to interject here, but yeah, a lot of landscapers are generally like some sort of like an artist. Like, they're a very creative person typically, just by nature, right? And so, like, yeah, cutting down a tree doesn't require a whole lot of creative energy, and it can get kind of exhausting for some landscapers. Some people don't mind doing it, but most, from my experience, really like the designing and kind of finding the best materials and playing with things and helping the client through that process is enjoyable for a lot of the owners of these companies. Yeah.
Right. So if you started a landscaping company, would you start off trying to go for the bigger jobs in the bigger neighborhoods, or would you start maybe more local, tiny neighborhoods just to get your skill set down and then eventually move to the bigger jobs, bigger fish?
Yeah. I would definitely start small if I was starting out, because the thing is, you need to get a good reputation. And with those small jobs, though, I wouldn't just do them and then move on to the next. I would be very, very like hounding that person for a review, some sort of proof that what I do is good, right? Unless something really bad happened, I wouldn't ask them, but I would be pushing those Google reviews as much as you can. And then if they're insanely happy, trying to get even Facebook reviews on there as well, just to increase in credibility. Make sure you're taking before and after pictures of everything. This is one mistake I see a lot of landscapers doing, is that they transform these yards. They put a lot of work into it and they don't get pictures. Like, we are in the digital age. Keep records of everything that you do, so that way when you're trying to sign clients with your landscaping company, you have proof. Right. And then also, when people like Conrad come into the landscaping business to help you grow the business, if you don't have digital files of pictures and things, it's going to be much harder to come, to trace those back and be able to use like those pictures as leverage to get people in the door.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So on a long enough time horizon, this is a bit more to your specific business that you run. On a long enough time horizon, what would you start adding to your service to make it even more valuable? Like what problems do you see that you would solve on their behalf?
As an agency for landscapers?
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
as an agency, what else do you think you could realistically solve? What would you want to add if you had, if you stayed in this business for multiple more years and you had the budget, you had the options, you had the expertise?
Yeah. So one thing I would do is immediately implement some sort of training platform to train my clients on taking good pictures and of landscaping properties, being able to just pull out their phone and then just click like a good picture, right? Because that's another thing is like sometimes I'll see it in like their fingers covering the lens and all these different things, like just a small training platform to help them with that. Just because as a digital agency, right, I can't be there to do that for them. So I'd do that. That would help everybody. The other thing that I would do is have some sort of training for virtual assistants to come in and handle all of the administrative work for them. So that way they don't have to do any of that. You can just focus on their job and then save them even more time. Get them the good jobs and then have a virtual assistant who's trained and knows how to do the administrative work. When they're on site talking with a client, if they have their laptop out or their iPad and they're able to send correspondence to a virtual assistant who can handle everything on the back end, it frees up their time as a landscaper to be able to be more face-to-face with the person rather than, okay, hang on, yeah, let me just spend some time here and type and do all these different things. So it would help them look more professional in the long run as well.
Right. So would that be a VA that you have hired and it's part of your company, or training and supplying VAs to them that they hire?
Yeah. I would help them find VAs and then train them and then give basically they would work for the landscaper.
I'm guessing these would be VAs from like Philippines, like lower.
Yeah, someone that they can pay for, a fairly low wage compared to Americans. However, or someone in the UK, but then being able to pay them more than they get paid there, right? So that way they stick around and they do good work and make sure that they're highly qualified for the job.
Yeah, that makes sense. And another question, obviously AI is being a big thing now, big focus. Do you think this is going to impact the landscaping, like the industry at all? Obviously it's a physical job, so it can't completely take over, but what do you think is the biggest thing that it might impact in a landscaping company?
Yeah, no, I think it's be huge impact, just because of like the NVIDIA AI words to text, as well as like the AI drawing that you can do and then make it look and come into like a real looking painting.
Right.
Because I think I think landscape designers are the ones that are going to be the most impacted by this, because you won't need fancy softwares anymore to put something together as like a visual aid. I do think that as for now, I do think that the landscape designers that have a business around that specifically will be needed in terms of like the like piping and all of the like intricate mathematics that have to go into designing a landscape project. But in terms of like needing all of these softwares and stuff, being able to get your hands on that cheaply for AI will have a massive impact. As well as I do think that there's going to be an aspect of like having AI do some administrative tasks for the landscaping companies, which will help them spend more time doing other things too, which I think is a good impact. And I don't think it will hurt the industry, like the drawing and the softwares of the AI to be able to create beautiful designs and stuff for you.
Right, so that's like the end of my questions to do with the landscaping. So a bit more off the book here. What's your next plan? Like, what do you want to do next in terms of your own journey as an entrepreneur? Obviously,
Yeah.
right now you're working with Charlie, but what do you see like 5 years out in the future, 10 years out in the future?
Yeah. Yeah. Good question. So at least for me right now, I'm building myself up in terms of learning about persuasion and sales, and then just working alongside Charlie. It's very interesting to see his thought process around things, various things that are happening with inside of Easy Grow and how he makes decisions. So I plan to just absorb that and just go through kind of like um, a mentorship, like a mentoree phase where I'm just apprenticeship. That's the word.
Hmm.
Like an apprenticeship with Charlie and just learning from him. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to go and spend a whole week with Charlie, like in person, to be able to just learn from him. So at least like in the near future, that's what I'm going to be doing. But then my one of my really good friends and I, he lives in Germany, but he and I are starting might be starting a clothing brand, e-commerce thing. So might be getting into some e-commerce type stuff for that. But then long term, it's mainly going to be just a lot of investing. That's like a big thing for me right now is investing in like real estate, and then investing in like the stock markets and stuff, to be able to just build up a portfolio and be able to have that interest kind of living off that is my kind of my goal.
So would you prefer to like move more into the real estate, like as your active thing you're doing like full time, like buy, refurbish, refinance type of work, or is it more of investing on the side of doing a business and then the business would, bankroll, bring the
Yeah,
cash flow
yeah.
in that you can invest with?
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends on what happens, right? So if the e-commerce thing that we do like ends up being something that really people like, then then maybe I'll do more on the side. But if that doesn't work as well as I would like it to, and we aren't able to put in something happens, or it doesn't grow like we would hope, then I think what we will do at that point is, or what I'll do at that point is um, either get back into the SMMA space and run an agency again, just because I've done it once. I'm sure I can do it again with some success. Um, and so, yeah, get back into that, have some income coming from that as well, and then kind of do the investing on the side. And then once that replaces the income, I think I would like to be in real estate. I just like the idea of having physical properties to take care of. It gives you something to do. It's very engaging, and it's fun to be in that environment of,
Yeah.
you know, kind of like landscapers, right? Like you get to go in there, use your creative energy to say, how can we fix this? How can we do this to make the value go up, and make it more appealing? So I really do like that.
Also, real estate industry is timeless. There's always going to be houses and
Right.
people that need to live somewhere. So that's not going anywhere. Even with AI, real estate will be a big industry.
It'll just speed up transactions, I think. But other than that, some people still need a place to live.
Yeah. I think this podcast went very well for a first podcast. That's everything I have noted. I don't really have anything else to ask, except for
Yeah.
maybe what's your like end goal? Like, what's your goal in business, in life, really?
Yeah.
What's the income? What's the point of getting that income? What motivates you to do this?
Yeah. So my goal, this is like kind of sounds petty, but
Yeah.
my biggest goal is to make more money than my parents did in 1 year.
Right.
That's my goal. Yeah. So it's that's really it. It's just like that's a goal that I set for myself. Comes purely from the ego thing. It's very selfish, but just want to do that before they die. That's kind of my goal. I guess like let me ask you some questions, because maybe this will help you like add something. I don't know, but um, as far as like where you're at in the agency,
Right.
um, how do you see yourself expanding your team in the future
I think
to be
that's it.
able to support the next goals?
Right. So after listening to Matt Shields a little bit, he always had a business partner when he did any business, and he's a big advocate for
Yep.
having someone with you so that you can be more specialized in a specific thing. And as well, it would be nice to have a business partner, because then you can, let's say I want to go on holiday. I'm not like, before I decentralize and I'm not the center of the business, everything's flowing through me. I can go and I can have fun and enjoy my money. At the same time, have someone else who's always there to cover my back. Maybe I like have to go to a hospital or something. I don't know, like anything that happens, I kind of want a business partner. I'm not 100% settled on it. It might be something later down the line, but that's the first thing. And then obviously client acquisition. I'd probably start outsourcing at the point of lead sourcing, so hiring VAs for that. Probably a cold outbound DM VA, train them up on that, start having that team going, focus more on the sales side. Once I have that built out, doing all the sales myself, have a few sales reps, so I can focus more on the service. And then, building the service, hiring a media buyer. With this, especially like being niche specific, you have a lot more leverage.
Yeah.
I don't know about when you were doing it, but I'm guessing if I had just have a big database of templates I can use, I don't really need to keep. I would need to make, let's say, 5 ad creatives a week, and then I could change it around a little bit for each client. It would not take a lot of time. So I'm guessing a single media buyer would be good enough for a long time to hire. And then from there, depending on if I have a business partner, focusing either more on the acquisition side, building that, or service delivery side, building the product, focusing more on referrals. Really, like, I'm at the start of the journey, so I'm not 100% sure where it's going to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good point to be made. This is one of the things that I noticed right away when working for Charlie, is that the things that he's been doing for the last 4 years to grow his company, Easy Grow or Imperium Acquisition, is the same things that we do today. And it's amazing to see that, because it's like, I don't know. I just thought that, like, okay, if you've been growing, if you're at the beginning stages, everything's going to look very different than it will in 4 years. But it really doesn't. It's just bigger. That's the only thing, right? It was like back then he was making, let's say, $50,000 a month. Now he's making $1 million a month. That's just the only difference. Everything's bigger, everything's scaled up, but everything's the same, right? So yeah, I think 100% you're right. Like, once you get this is why the startup phase is definitely the most difficult part of the entire business. Once you get to 10K, and once you get to 10K, you have an understanding of how to do it, right? You are now an agency owner. From there, you've gone through the liftoff stage, which is this much, but this is the hardest part to get past. Now it's just here, right? So it's like, once you get that, it's just about scaling. And that's the coolest part about these business models, is you get there very quickly, and then from there it just continues to scale and scale. Yeah,
makes sense. I don't know, what's your opinion on getting a business partner, like starting, like from the starting out stages and later on? Obviously, Charlie has a business partner, Bo or Bao. I still don't know. Bo, and obviously I've already mentioned Matt Shields, Alex Hormozi, his wife's his business partner. What do you think about the whole thing?
Yep. I think it's 100% necessary. Like, if you look at any massive company, like look at Apple, look at Amazon, look at Microsoft, DigiKey. I mean, literally, you name a company that's making $1 billion a year or more. Like, right, obviously, like Apple and Amazon are like $1 trillion businesses, but look at those companies and look back to when they started. Humble beginnings, but there was at least 2 people, at least, right? The best thing that you can do for yourself in entrepreneurship is having somebody to talk to that's in it with you, because this was the thing that was a big deciding factor for me to transition over to learning from Charlie rather than just continuing to do what I was doing, because I was alone and I was like, wow, it actually would be kind of nice to have a mentor, to be an apprentice to somebody, and to have like a community of people in my own like line of work in the business to convene with. Because that was a thing like that I was when I was running my agency, I was looking for that. I was always trying to find somebody who I could just talk to. But the thing is, right, it's like you don't talk about the same things because you just don't. Like, it's just people are always in different stages. And so if you have somebody that's right there alongside you that you can talk to every day in the mornings and the afternoons when you need to talk about what you've done, go over that, you are 1,000% more likely to succeed. And so I think it's like I wish that we had something in Easy Grow to help business owners find a partner.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if you know who Jonas is. He's in the community. He's like #1 on the leaderboards right now because of what he's been posting. I know for a fact Jonas was struggling. He partnered up with a guy from Slovakia, and they're making $13,000 a month in literally 2 weeks.
Right.
So it's like it went from I don't know how to do this, I'm all alone, blah blah blah, to literally in 2 weeks, scheduled in 17 appointments a day now, closed a $6K deal, and then the next day he closed a $7,000 deal. So I've seen it. It works. Having a business partner is the most important thing that you can do, I think, for yourself.
Yeah, it makes complete sense, especially because this is all digital. So even if you're messaging other people, like obviously Easy Grow, you have a community, you can post things, but it's not the same as you're working with someone else towards a common goal. It provides accountability, which obviously you shouldn't rely on it, but it's good to have. It's definitely something which helps.
I think here's the thing though, accountability is more than just kicking you in the butt when you're feeling lazy, right? Because the thing is, when you're like, I like to say it like this, like it's really hard to tell that you're about to pass out because your mind starts to go blank and boom. But somebody looking at you from a third person perspective can see that you go white, your eyes start to roll back, and they go, oh my God, he's gonna pass out, and they catch you. And so it's like you need that you need the person on your side so you can talk to each other and say, bro, this is how I'm feeling. They go, oh, I know how you're feeling. I just went through that. Let me help you as your business partner, help you get through this personally, because in the beginning stages of a business, you are tied to the business. The business problems are your personal problems and vice versa. So if there's two of you, you're not just holding each other accountable, but you're also there to share the knowledge and kind of share in the pain of growing a business, because it's very fucking painful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely true. Would you say if someone's looking for a partner, obviously I'm looking for a business partner. I've tried to talk to some people I know, like just from my neighbor, for example. My neighbor he's entrepreneurially minded. He's a bit younger than me. But I thought, I can talk to him, maybe have a partnership with him. Do you think something like that's a better idea, or finding someone who's already decided on doing an agency, being like very committed to it, for example, someone else in Easy Grow, or finding someone within your personal circle and going with them?
Yeah, I think so. Finding a business partner is one of the most important and personal things that you can do. Plain and simple, right? Because it's like, the thing is, Bo and Charlie found each other by accident. So let's just talk about them, right? Because that's who we're really like modeling after, right? They're our mentors. So Charlie sucks at operations, terrible at it. Well, that's not fair to say. He's pretty good at it now, but when he first started, he was terrible at it. But he was amazing at sales. Could sell anything. Like literally one of the best salespeople I've ever met. He's a freaking alien.
Right.
Then there's Bo, who at 16 years old was making 100K per month running a poker business. Like this kid is a master at operations and master at that, but then doesn't know how to sell. Right. And so it was like a beautiful, like yin yang situation for them, where they both had very specific skill sets connected, and boom. That was when Northfield Consulting started and went from, or that was when Charlie took Northfield Consulting from like 10K a month all the way up to 100K per month. And with Bo's skill set and operations, was able to automate every biz aspect. Right. So then they were like sipping margaritas in the beaches of Mexico, making all this money, 100,000 pounds a month or more, and got bored. right? Because they're like, well, shit, now what? So I think that if you're looking for a business partner, the thing that I would suggest is meet as many other business people as you can. Because the thing is, if someone's interested in entrepreneurship, right, there's so many people that are entrepreneurs that read all the books and they learn about all the shit. And then 2 years later, like, bro, I know so much about entrepreneurship. Cool. How much have you done? Oh, I haven't started anything yet. I'm still learning.
Mhm.
It's like, those are the people that never get where they want to be. And so
Right.
that's why it's very important to find somebody who's already doing something, because
Right.
then you can see their expertise in practice.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, especially now. There are so many people who are interested, but they're not actually interested. They like the idea, they
Yep.
don't actually like the specific thing, like doing it. That's where I started. When I bought the course, when I got into Easy Grow, I 100% would call myself a entrepreneur. I always wanted to do it. I never took proper steps to actually achieving it. Then, rude awakening, got into Easy Grow, realized it takes a ton of work. I was on Iman Ghazi's course before that. Um, did not go well. I started doing email outreach, like thousands of emails, just luminous, obviously, just text. Got my email accounts banned. Didn't do proper cold calls. Was not niche down specifically. I was trying to dabble in two different niches.
Mm.
I don't know. The entire way a lot of people view business is just completely wrong. Even if they have all of the theory down. I've read $100 million Office, for example, when I was an entrepreneur. Reading it again now, I'm like, all of these things applied very specifically to what I'm doing, and it changes a lot of my business. I've recently changed my offer. It makes a world of difference. Before, I would read the exact same thing, take something else away from it just because I've not tried anything. I don't struggle with these things. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely true. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
where would you recommend someone like me to find people who are interested in entrepreneurship, who are also interested in a partnership? Would it be through a community like Easy Grow? Would it be to network at events? Like more, there's a few events in London that I see happening every week, or just going to as much as humanly possible just to find someone who you think I could do business with them.
Yeah. Okay. So for one thing, right? Now I don't know how feasible this is for you, Conrad, but there's a GoHighLevel summit happening in the United States in a few months. And it's literally just a whole bunch of really successful marketers coming together to share information, but there's also going to be a whole bunch of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, unfortunately, obviously, who just have a lot of money already from whatever reason and are there networking. Those types of events that bring people from all around the world are where you're going to meet these people that are in the industry and potentially struggling to get their business to where they want it to be and could use someone with the skill sets that you have, right? So that's what I would say is like those types of events. The other thing, I mean, would be groups like Easy Grow and saying like, this is what I'm doing. And like basically, because this is the thing, right? Everyone's in sales, so you have to sell yourself, right? Here's my skill sets. Like if you can find somebody with a complementary skill set and they are also looking for a partner, that's when your business can go from where it's at right now to quadrupling overnight. Because now you focus all of your attention. Like I thought I was pretty good at sales, right? And then I joined as to help with Charlie with growing his business as a salesperson. And that's when I realized this is why experts are so valuable. Because it was like I realized really quickly that I'm not an expert. I'm not that good at sales yet in the grand scheme of things. So finding somebody who's also has a good development of X, Y, and Z, like maybe operations, and then maybe let's say you're really good at sales or vice versa, then that will be where you're gonna do it. And you just have to post a lot. This is what I did, right? I joined, I don't know if you remember a couple months ago when I was in Easy Growth, still like growing my agency, like I posted fucking every day something about me, and I was getting DMs from people left and right. And I know almost everybody in the course now. I've like maybe not messaged like done like this with you, but I know everybody in the course like really somewhat. Almost everyone's DM'd me at least once. It feels like, but probably not everybody. But that's how I started building a network. I have lots of good friends now. I have lots of people that I'm like, I'd be very comfortable going to them and saying, let's partner. Right. Now I don't want to partner now because I don't have a business, but back then I was like, I had people that if I wanted to, but I didn't see the value of it until I joined Easy Grow as a sales rep. Right. That's why like I'm literally like preaching to you right now, bro. Get a business partner. Start looking for one because you will be so much more successful with one.
So with your clothing brand, how did you find that business partner? Did you know him from before, or how did you go about meeting him?
Yeah, so that is like, I'm a hypocrite now because just saying all of that, like this guy has never been in entrepreneurship, but he's like my brother, right? So it's like he and I have known each other for like 10 years, super good, like a family, like almost, but he's like, he's gay. So he has like a very good sense for clothing and style. He lives in Berlin, which is literally like one of the capitals of clothing in the entire world.
Right.
So it's like, he just has this like sense for style, and I have the sense for business. Right. And that's like a match made in heaven in that sense. But he doesn't know anything about business. So I'll be carrying a lot on my shoulders at the beginning here, but that's how I found him. It just happened to be that it was like a perfect situation.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
I would love to see you get a business partner, to see where you go, because you've gotten yourself to this point and you're doing things like this alone. So it's like, if you had a business partner, you could be doing this while your business partner's out there growing, doing those types of things, operations. So it's like, I really do see the value, because entrepreneurship's lonely as hell. So
thank you for your time. I hope this was fun for you, because I enjoyed it.
Bro.
But maybe we'll talk again at some point. Have another podcast episode when you're a bit later down the line, if things change a bit for you. See how the clothing brand ends up. But yeah, that's about it. So